If you take nothing else from me today, just take these 3 words. Stick with it. If you'd sidled up to me halfway through Silent Hill F, I probably would have dropped my voice and advised you to wait for a sale. All the whiny teenage angst is winding me up and is also more than faintly reminiscent of Silent Hill's free teaser, The Short Message. For the last hour, I've been unsuccessfully playing Inventory Management Sim, spent an embarrassing amount of time lost in a field, and I still can't really work out what the hell is going on. The also embarrassing time I've spent wandering through the misty streets of Silent Hill over the years is seemingly of no benefit here either. In fact, if it wasn't for Akira Yamaoka et al.'s score, which is less recognisably Silent Hill than I've ever heard before, I wouldn't have thought Silent Hill F was a Silent Hill game at all, which is kind of weird, for a Silent Hill game. I don't say that to be difficult. I'm not the fan who only ever wants Silent Hill 2 over and over again, although, let's face it, remake was exquisite. I don't automatically despise anything that's been made by a Western studio, but I also don't blindly accept that everything with Silent Hill on the cover is any good either. Sorry, Ascension. So, I came into Silent Hill F cautious but optimistic. But first, some context. Silent Hill F places us in the neat school shoes of teenager Hinako. For reasons that may or may not be explained later, her provincial town, Ebisugaoka, is suddenly submerged into a mysterious fog. The pavements bubble and blister with strange crimson flora, and sinewy strings hang from rooftops like macabre bunting. Unidentifiable, fleshy lumps sit about, all haphazard and bloody, as though discarded by a lazy butchering the sky, but it's the flowers you need to look out for. One wrong step and something will curl around your ankle, and you'll be trypophobia-triggering plant food before you know it. But none of that is as upsetting as the bloated corpses and twisted marionettes and more, oh so much more, that lie in wait across the village. It's hard to know what's worse for our Hinako, the deadly denizens or the societal expectations of a teenage girl in 1960s Japan. But man, those first few hours, people keep doing and saying dumb stuff. The dialogue, teenagery and cringy, is not convincing, and why on earth Hinako and her pals don't link arms to ensure they stop losing each other in the fog is beyond me. I'd kept myself gloriously spoiler-free coming in, which means I was less prepared than some for the wild tangents developer Neobards takes from expected Silent Hill norms, but even the otherworld is otherworldy in a way I absolutely did not expect, which is again, well, strange. Because if it doesn't look like a Silent Hill game and doesn't play like a Silent Hill game, and only sometimes sounds like a Silent Hill game, then is it really a Silent Hill game at all? And then it all just clicked. Not the combat, mind you, I still don't like it. You'll have heard some compare it to that of Souls-like games, which isn't quite right. You'll spend the game with a pipe or a bat or a sledgehammer in your hand that takes forever to swing, even if you commit to the ostensibly quicker light attacks. The more you attack, the faster you'll deplete your sad little stamina bar. The more you draw on your focus, which is exactly what it says on the tin, a powered-up focused attack, the quicker you'll lose your sanity. It's all pretty standard fare, and I did acclimate to the recommended story difficulty, but I never quite enjoyed it, I'm afraid. By the time I've finished though, I'm pretty sure that's more a consequence of the degradable weapons than the combat system itself. I've spent a good chunk of my life in horror games and know there's a constant tension between feeling fearful and carefree, which inevitably requires the need to ration health items and weapons, as well as liberally deploying run away strategies. And while this is fine when you're, say, fighting enemies outside, when you're indoors or in a tight alleyway, it becomes much harder to do that. The more you fight, the faster you'll exhaust your piddly collection of weapons. You'll only ever be able to carry 3, along with a handful of toolkits to sort of repair them, which means there were a good 15-minute segments where I had no weapon at all, leaving me with absolutely no way to defend myself other than to dodge myself dizzy and hope I make it out alive. Hinako wouldn't even raise a fist. Your frustration levels may vary depending on how much time you spend with Souls-like games, but for me, Silent Hill F's combat isn't challenging as much as it's clunky. I had attacks phase through targets without a dent, dodges not dodge, and never seemed to have enough bloody stamina, even by the endgame. And when she comes out of a dodge, Hinako stands there until you remind her that she's supposed to be running for her life. It becomes a self-defeating move, often leaving you wide open for a deadly own goal. The most grievous crime though, as a long-time Silent Hill fan, it's extraordinarily difficult to do any real exploration of the world. The grim cocktail of clumsy combat, degradable weapons, and ferocious enemies makes it extraordinarily difficult to do so. That said, about halfway through, you'll land yourself an otherworldly upgrade of sorts. Even if I could tell you about it, I wouldn't, but I will admit that it brought a new twist to combat that I was not expecting, but was very happy to have. Let's leave it at that. As for the enemy you'll find yourself fighting more than any other, the one you'll never quite get under control, your inventory. There are 3 things you can do when you reach a shrine: save, enshrine, and pray. The latter 2 ostensibly allow you to upgrade your health, stamina, and sanity bars, although doing so requires you to sacrifice the meagre collection of goodies you've amassed as offerings, or locate one of the vanishingly few emmers found secreted across the game. Initially, I felt as though I'd never have enough items to sacrifice to build up my faith deposit, the closest thing the game has to a currency, and later I'd amassed loads of faith but must have missed some emmers, so I couldn't upgrade anything. Oh well. You can also utilise a pool of passive skills in the form of Omamores that you pick up along the way. Although I have very little else to say on that, given I barely touched them after finding one that helped to boost Hinako's stamina a bit. I don't think I'd care as much about Hinako's tight inventory if we were able to pick and choose what we take and what we leave behind, but switch a bandage to make room for a first aid kit, for example, and that bandage will be gone forever. And sure, some stuff stacks, but many others do not. So it's partially galling that you have to make room in your minuscule inventory for the aforementioned offerings too. I can't even tell you what they all do either. You can recover health, sanity, and stamina in different amounts and ways. Some of it is pretty self-explanatory, bandages, first aid kits, and so on, whereas the rest, such as Divine Water, fully restores max sanity and reduces sanity drain for a bit, Ramune greatly restores max sanity, Arare slightly restores health but the effect increases when used continuously, are more difficult to keep track of at the best of times. At their worst, say when you're in the heat of battle and your pop-up inventory only shows you a tiny icon, they're infuriating. And yet, there I was, teeth clenched, beating a bulbous something, I don't even know how to describe it, to death with a crowbar, absolutely hell-bent on seeing this through to the end. I had to see it through. Hinako's story took a wild pivot the moment I realised what was happening in her otherworld, and halfway through this bewildering adventure, I realised how stupid I'd been for chalking this up to nothing more than a teen drama with a Silent Hill logo slapped on top of it. Yes, Silent Hill F deliberately sidesteps much of what makes Silent Hill games Silent Hill. There's no torch, no radio static, not even any rust, but that doesn't mean it's a misstep. Its world is still tense and atmospheric. The monsters delight and disgust in equal measure. The ambient sounds are genuinely terrifying. It's not the same as Silent Hill 2 Remake, no, and I don't think it's as scary, but it's every bit as unsettling, believe me. It's almost as though the second half of the game is your reward for getting through the first. Whereas other Silent Hill games have essentially presented a Western idea of horror, Silent Hill F unapologetically embraces its roots in ways I couldn't have predicted if there was a gun on my head, and that's coming from someone well acquainted with Asian horror. Hinako's otherworld may not look like any other world we've seen before, given the rusty fences and blood-smeared grates have been replaced by dark temples and shrines, but it feels every bit as foreboding. Slowly, methodically, you'll piece together what exactly brought Hinako to this place, and over a number of otherworldly visits do not include degradable weapons, thank God, You'll learn things about her you may never have suspected, and even more about what she's prepared to sacrifice, both literally and figuratively. Whereas other Silent Hill games have essentially presented a Western idea of horror, Silent Hill F unapologetically embraces its roots in ways I could not even imagine. And it's here, in the unmentionable and often indescribable parts of Silent Hill F, that writer Ryu Kishio 7's profoundly unsettling story really shines. So while no, this doesn't negate the clumsy combat per se, it makes the first half slog more than worth it. Plus, it's a beautiful place when it's not scaring the bejesus out of you, rich with detail and interest. There's a fair bit of backtracking, which, again, makes that tiny inventory that much more of an issue. A number of times I cleared a place out and discarded an item to make room for another, thinking I'd never be there again, only to return 2 hours later and could have desperately done with it. But you'll get to poke about in all kinds of places across the town, even if you're rarely rewarded for stepping off the beaten path. And in keeping with its predecessors, Silent Hill F is not overt with its messaging, which means you should make a point of scouring for discarded notes and checking in with Hinako's journal as you meander across town. Talking of Hinako's journal, it's a lifeline when it comes to Silent Hill F's puzzles. I played on hard, the recommended setting for those looking for a traditional Silent Hill experience, and found all but one early scary, crow, if you know you know, puzzle a breeze, thanks to the copious notes Hinako jots down as she goes. The environmental puzzling was tougher. Figure out how to get here, do that, now go there, etc, etc. But, again, not overly taxing, making it probably one of the easiest Silent Hill games thus far in respect. It's not the puzzles that are going to make or break Silent Hill F though, it'll be that combat. I stand here as someone with average-ish dexterity, poor impulse control and a core-deep hatred of boss fights, so I like to think that if I can get through it, most of the series' older fans should cope okay too, despite the surprising decision to omit an easy mode. For different reasons, the story, and several of its gobsmacking cinematic sequences, similarly requires a strong stomach. Silent Hill has never shied away from mature and complex themes, so it may be prudent to note the content warning when you boot up. To that end, it advises there'll be depictions of gender discrimination, child abuse, bullying, drug-induced hallucinations, torture, and graphic violence. And boy do they deliver on that, as well as some trypophobia, which is not listed in the content warning, but will absolutely be a deal breaker for some. Proceed with caution. There's more I want to tell you, of course. Loads, actually, although I'm not convinced you'd believe half of what I witnessed in the 12-ish hours it took to reach the end. I want to talk about the enemies, the otherworld, the multiple endings, but even if Konami's barbed wire-laden embargo wasn't preventing me from telling you more, I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise anyway. You really should experience Silent Hill F's final act for yourself. And given that, I'll conclude as I started, and leave you 3 more words to take away. Don't watch anymore. If this has left you curious, close this tab, avoid social media and further reviews or streams, and let yourself experience Silent Hill F firsthand. You'll either thank me for it or hate me for it, but either way, you'll have a hell of a time. And there you go, that is Eurogamer's Silent Hill F review. If you're thinking of buying the game, or if you've already been playing it, let me know in the comments below what you think of it so far. I absolutely love it, but do agree with Vikki's analysis of the combat and how clunky it feels. If you want to hear more from Silent Hill F, in particular some lore videos I'm working on, then make sure to subscribe to Eurogamer and drop this video a like. And now, I am going to go and continue to analyse the bejesus out of the monsters in Silent Hill F, so I'll see you folks next time.
Now is a great time to score some incredible games through Humble Choice. Live now through to October 7th, you can grab WWE 2K25, Destiny 2 Legacy Collection, The Plucky Squire, Return to Monkey Island, and more. Whether you're building up your backlog or discovering something new, this is the perfect time to pick up these fan favourites. Plus, every purchase supports a good cause, with this month's featured charity being Team Rubicon. Get a curated mix of PC games every month, all for just £11.49 a month.